Swag out them boss. Look, is that bow tie Paisley?
Welcome to another episode of the Sartorial and Geek podcast by Webster Style, where we talk about bow ties, comic books, and everything in between. I'm your host, Webster Style, the man, the voice, the fragrance. Back in here again, coming to talk to you again about some grade A video game recommendations in our download. Now, I don't know about you, but I have always loved the fighting genre. Blame it on Street Fighter II's introduction into the arcades in the early 90s. Yes, I am that old if you have not figured it out by now. I have always loved fighting games, and when these games tended to drop, particularly you're talking about back in the day, Street Fighter II, Art of Fighting, King of Fighters series, Fatal Fury, all of those games were ones that my friends and I would flock to in the arcades. Not to mention, the Street Fighter versus X-Men and Darkstalkers, and then you start getting into sort of those pseudo 3D games, not to mention Mortal Kombat, but also you get into like Primal Rage and Killer Instinct, and then you get to the granddaddy 3D brawler of them all, and that is Virtual Fighter by the great legendary Yu Suzuki over at Sega, and that innovation begat arguably what is one of the best 3D fighting games around, and that is the Tekken series. And one of the series that came out around the same time as a 3D fighter that many people did not take notice of with its first incarnation in the arcades was Dead or Alive, or DOA as we affectionately call it. That is a game I slept on in the arcades. It didn't look as polished as some of its contemporaries with its 3D graphics. Though they were nice, but they weren't anything that would really shy me away from Tekken. And frankly, I wasn't that big of a 3D fighter fan myself at that time. If I did anything, it would probably be Virtual Fighter, just because of that history and that nuance of really playing it on the Genesis, on the 32X, and in the arcades. It was the first. And it was a style and art about Virtual Fighter that I don't think any 3D fighter really matched after that. And good they didn't, because everyone tried to do something different. I really didn't become a fan of the DOA series until the debut of DOA 2 on the Dreamcast. Now, if you ever played the Dreamcast or you saw the Dreamcast back in the day, you know that the DOA 2 was one of the games you showed off to all of your friends to say, hey, this is why you get a Dreamcast and not a PlayStation 2. It was beautiful. The destructible environments, the tag system, the co-op, the multi-layered environments, it was gorgeous. And it's one of those games that you can go back to over and over and over and over again and never get tired of playing. So that's when I fell in love with the series there. And I've played the series successfully over the years with DOA 3 on the Xbox, DOA 4 on the Xbox 360, and after that, with its multi-platform release, DOA 5 and DOA 6, at least the core games, are free to play, meaning you don't have to shell out any money to play the core game of DOA 5 or DOA 6. Yes, you can buy more characters, yes, you can buy costumes, and you can even unlock stages with your hard-earned money. However, if you just want to get in, earn some achievements, and kick some butt, I highly recommend both and or one of these games to download for the download. And they're available on the PS systems, PS4 and 5, and the Xbox Series systems, Xbox One, Xbox One X, Xbox Series X, and Xbox Series S. That is a mouthful. It is one of those series that just gets better with age, but after DOA 2, there wasn't a lot of refinement that I felt that Koei Tecmo needed to do with the fighting system. It was just making it more fun to play, adding more characters, adding different stages. It's just an all-around good time, and for free $99, it is definitely a game you should pick up and download if you like fighting games. So that's my recommendation for the download this week. DOA, or Dead or Alive series, numbers 5 and 6, both on the current generation, or last generation and current generation platforms for free. Now, also, side note, there was a live action movie made as well about DOA, and you can actually find that movie as of right now, this recording, on Tubi TV as well as Plex on-demand service for free. And you can see, if you're a wrestling fan, Kevin Nash played Bass, Jamie Priestley played his daughter, and there are a lot of other notable character actors from the day, including Eric Roberts, who takes a paycheck for any and everything. I don't blame him, but he's in the movie as well. So it is definitely a fun, so bad is good sort of movie from that era of when they just made video game adaptations out of any and everything with no plot whatsoever. And also, these fighting games tend to also translate even better, or just better in general, into anime. You know, one of the classic fighting or video game animes is the Street Fighter anime, Street Fighter 2 anime from 1994, if I remember correctly. I remember the Fatal Fury OAV series from back in the 90s, as well as I know there's a Tekken series as well. So there are a lot of anime properties that have been based, that translate video game and video game lore, especially fighting games, over the years. And speaking of anime, I ended up watching a curious video, a very well put together video on YouTube the past 2-3 weeks ago by a YouTuber or a channel called Black Anime. It's BLXXK Anime. And the topic of the video was, why do black people love anime? Obviously, this title alone had my interest piqued, so I watched it, and I thought that it was a really good examination of how anime has become as much a part of the African American culture over the past 20 years or so. While it was well crafted, the video's main explanation of this love of anime and its explosion really centers on the influx of anime in the early 2000s, and it really used and highlighted the series Bleach, One Piece, and Naruto as catalysts that planted the seeds for that explosion, that deep-seated love of anime that we're seeing now. And as someone of my generation, I didn't necessarily take offense, but I thought that just defining it as that start to the early 2000s really did a disservice to the older anime heads like myself, as well as the older properties that came out that really sparked an interest and love and a passion in many of us in the community. And one of those series that I want to highlight is Dragon Ball Z. Now, Dragon Ball Z came out in the mid-90s and really didn't hit it off, but then it found its way over to Toonami in the late 90s, early 2000s. And you had people who had never watched anime before religiously watch Dragon Ball Z. It made such an impact on the culture, and it was one of those things where it was just very much glossed over. I think there was a highlight from the RZA and how Dragon Ball Z was emblematic of the black man's life in America, and that's debatable, you know, that we're not getting into that or not, but I understand the similarities that he posed in his quote. But again, that was all that was said about Dragon Ball Z. How is it that you have a series who really was a pinnacle of cultural zeitgeist at that point in time when it came to anime? I mean, everybody I knew watched Dragon Ball Z. I didn't get into Dragon Ball Z at first because I didn't like Dragon Ball. I thought Dragon Ball was stupid and silly when it came on the syndication in the early to mid-90s before Dragon Ball Z's, and I thought it was the same. So I missed out on Frieza and all that. I didn't get into DBZ until the Cell Saga, and then from there I was hooked. And it was very much like a grown man's soap opera in the pacing of the battles and the pacings of the episodes. And with that, you also saw this explosion of merchandise that you had not seen before for any anime property really before then. Now, mind you, I had heard about Dragon Ball Z in high school, so this was, man, I think I was in graduate school when everything really popped off on Toonami, so this is a good 6-7 years before it even really became big time on American shores. And even going back that far, trading tapes and everything, and that limited amount of anime that was there, you know, we had things like Ramen Half, we had things like Akira, the seminal classic that, you know, I would say, I'm not a gatekeeper, but if you love anime, you need to watch Akira, because that's a masterpiece no matter when and at what stage of anime you're looking at. It's just one of those things where I feel as though you have those cultural stepping stones like Robotech. Robotech was a series that came out in the 80s that I've talked about before as an amalgamation of 3 different anime series from the Tatsunoko company that were put out by Harmony Gold, redubbed and edited together to make one cohesive story, and I absolutely loved it. And that was very much my gateway into anime before I even knew what anime was. Even the original Street Racer cartoon is one that got a lot of people in my generation into anime, not just people in general, but black people. We were doing it before it was cool, from scouting out in Suncoast Video and picking up everything from the classics like Bubblegum Crisis and knowing the different companies and watching horrible things like MD Geist just to watch anime. That's how much we loved anime. It was before it was cool. And I also think that the video really did a disservice for not mentioning the cultural impacts of Pokemon. Yes, everyone talks about the cards, but there are a lot of kids who grew up watching the Pokemon cartoon who got into anime. I mean, because of the explosion of the Pokemon cartoon, you had a lot of other series that were adapted for American shores that we never would have saw before. You know, things like The Vision of Escaflowne, which came out on Fox Kids for a hot second. You also had Card Captor Secured, which came on, I believe it was WB Kids as well. Even the Sonic X cartoons, you know, they are technically anime as well. There was so much anime in anime because of Pokemon, Digimon, as well as Yu-Gi-Oh! And the popularity of those card games translated into population of those anime series being brought over to the West. And those really, I would say, more so than any other series. And you're talking about mid-90s now, not even the early 2000, 2005, when Bleach, One Piece, and Naruto debuted on American shores. So you're talking about maybe a good 6, 7, if not 10 years earlier than a lot of these properties really started to come into America and start to sow those seeds of anime. Even for me, my favorite anime series till this day is Neon Genesis Evangelion. I saw that in high school, and it is one of those series that it just captivated you and you want to see what happens, and then you see the ending and you're totally pissed off. I think that was the first instance ever I said to my friends and anyone about something that I hated an ending, and the creators must have been on drugs when they wrote this episode. Because if you know what I'm talking about, then the ending, especially the last 2-3 episodes of Neon Genesis Evangelion, just you're like, what in the world happened? They were on some good drugs to write these episodes, only for them to come back with 2 movies to try to clean up the ending and make it better, which they did a valiant effort. I think it was somewhat lost, the fact that it did that. And even the video itself talked about Samurai Champloo, but again, glossed over things like Outlaw Star. You know, those things on Cartoon Network that really did it. And Cowboy Bebop really just arguably had more of an impact on Samurai Champloo with regards to black and black culture, because that's something we love. But again, that was during that same time period of those early 2000s, DBZ. So I just really think that maybe a longer video, it could have gone more into the further history outside of just the early 2000s of anime and why black people love anime. But I think just anime unto itself, and black people love it so much, not just because of those series, but because many of the themes of anime speaks to the outsider, the lone wolf, someone who has been an outcast of society. And I think the African American experience really plays into those themes, whether you are quote unquote the field one or the house one, you are still one, so to speak. So we all understand that feeling of not belonging, that feeling of having to find our place in a world that quote unquote doesn't want us to be there. And you see a lot of those themes repeated in anime, and not just one or two, but just across anime as a whole. You even look at some of the movies by the Miyazaki. You look at Spirited Away. You look at Howl's Magic Castle. You look at Princess Mononoke, which is the first anime I saw in a theater. And I think that was my freshman year of college, my last year of high school. I forget which one it was, and that was amazing in these sort of themes that it really talked about in that movie. It was amazing. So I really think that Black people love anime because really you have those central themes of being the outsider and finding your way to fit in, and for ultimately that outsider becoming the one that everyone cherishes, everyone looks to, everyone depends on. And you look at that and emblematic of culture, and especially American culture. American culture is Black culture. Everything starts with Black culture. So anime was very much antithesis of the Black culture and cultural experience and how we see ourselves in this country. So that's what I'll say to that. What do you think? Why do Black people love anime? Are you a Black person that doesn't love anime? Hey, you don't have to be Black. If you don't love anime, tell me why. If you do love anime, tell me why. And more importantly, tell me what your favorite anime series and or movie is or are. I am dying to hear. That would be really awesome to talk about what your favorite series and movies are. Email us at info@websterstylemagazine.com and let us know what your favorites are. So we're going to take a break and then come back with some style tips and our fragrance of the week. And we're back. And one of the things that I love, I'm not a shoe connoisseur, but I'll say that I've fallen in love with different types of shoes over the past couple of years. And one of the shoes that I think and I would recommend to you as a essential item for your wardrobe, gentlemen, would be the double monk strap. And a double monk strap is simply a shoe that has two buckles instead of laces. You can wear it a bit more formally, you can wear it a bit more casually, and that's what I love about it. Some say you shouldn't wear double monk straps with a suit. I wear what I want, when I want, how I want, with I want, and I look damn good when I wear them with my suit. I personally have two pair. I have more of a dark brown pair of double monk strap boots, and then I have more of an ox blood pair of double monk strap loafers. And with those, they're so versatile. Now, obviously, you're not going to wear them to the basketball courts or something where really a pair of sneakers would suffice. However, if you want to put something on to have a bit more flash or a bit more class to your outfit, even a pair of jeans, a pair of double monk straps really fit the bill. And it's one of those pairs of shoes where you are formal but not as formal as if you're wearing a pair of wingtips or a pair of Darbys or Oxfords or Baroque or what have you. The double monk straps are just a shoe that I find to be very versatile, and when it comes to my wardrobe, frankly, when I go out, whether I am wearing an outfit like this or if I just have on a pair of khakis and a t-shirt, I will more than likely, instead of putting on my sneakers or some of the other shoes that I have, I'll slip on my double monks and just go out because it classes up just a pair of khakis and a t-shirt oh so well, and the pair that I have are just oh so comfortable. So I definitely recommend, if you have not invested in a pair of double monk straps, I think you should, gentlemen. It's definitely a purchase that I don't think you will ever regret, at least when it comes to your shoe game is concerned. And trust me, ladies always love the shoe game, and double monk straps are one of those shoes that everybody has, but I wouldn't say everybody has, but they're popular, but they're not that popular, if you know what I mean. You really have to be a certain type of style connoisseur really to understand the value of double monk straps. At least that's what I've seen when it comes to practical application and real life use. Not just everybody wears double monks, and when you do, you will definitely set yourself apart from the pack. So that's my style essential recommendation, pair of double monk straps. I would say get them in brown. Actually get two pair, one in brown, one in black. I am not a person that says, oh, you need to spend XYZ amount of money on it, but you know, if you buy a cheap pair of shoes, don't wear them that often and take care of them. If you buy an expensive pair of shoes and you still take care of them as well, because you want to make sure you keep your shoes for as long as possible. You're going to want to get as much wear out of them for what you paid for them. So that's again my recommendation, the double monk strap shoe for your arsenal, especially with the summer. It is a great, you go into your day party, you throw those bad boys on, you are good to go. Now speaking of another sort of classy item that is formal but not formal, and something that is very common, but I don't see it as much as I would think, and that is the fragrance of the week. And the fragrance of the week is Individuel by Mont Blanc. Now this is a fragrance that I have heard described, and is a very adequate description or accurate description as a raspberry-ish dryer sheet, and I so get it. And because of that smell, it has obviously certain notes that are going to be associated with that, and these are the notes. You're going to have top notes in there, a lot of notes. Just to let you know, we'll go through them pretty quickly. So you have notes of raspberry, pineapple, cinnamon, coriander, lavender, juniper berries, mint, bergamot, and cardamom in the top. You have mid notes of orange blossom, jasmine, violet, and geranium. And then you have base notes of sandalwood, amber, musk, patchouli, raspberry, vanilla, dark chocolate, vetiver, and oak moss. Yes, that is a mouthful no matter how you get it. It is this Mont Blanc put everything they possibly could into this fragrance. And the one thing about this fragrance, which is surprising because of the notes and the note breakdown, is that it's very fresh. It's very fresh and it's heavy at the same time. And it's definitely a fragrance that I get pretty much all day longevity and projection out of it. It is one that is going to be relatively inexpensive as well. I also heard that it may be discontinued, so if you're interested, definitely pick it up. But it is a fragrance that's always going as compliments. You have that sweetness, especially in the raspberry, that freshness, but where it really hits is that base note, that combination of that vanilla, dark chocolate, and raspberries, almost as if you are your significant other's dessert once they get a hold of you. And especially with that oak moss as well, so you get that sensualness of it. It is one of those ones where I think it is never overrated, but I think it's somewhat underrated. Like if you're in the frag community, you know about Mont Blanc Individuel. You probably own a bottle of Mont Blanc Individuel. However, with all of the myriad of fragrances out there, I think that people forget how good of a fragrance it is and how versatile it is as well. It is not one I'm wearing to a black tie event. No, it does not fit there. But it is very safe for the office. It's very safe for just casual wear as well. Could you wear it out to a nice evening? You could. I don't think it's the mood you want to really set off, at least with the opening. But you can definitely pull off going out on a date with someone. I think it'll work that way as well. So it's versatile, not as versatile as other fragrances I've talked about before, but it's definitely one you can use in a multitude of different circumstances. So that is my pick for the week, Mont Blanc Individuel, one of my favorites. If you've been following for a while, you know it's in, or it was one of my top 5 quarantine frag. This one that's very easy to wear, very easy to spray, and you don't have to think about wearing it. Also, it is quite strong though, so it's not one you want to overspray out either. You will choke somebody out if you overspray this fragrance. So that's it for the fragrance, and that's also it for another episode of the Sartorial and Geek podcast by Webster Style, where we talk about bow ties, comic books, no comic books this week though, and everything in between. I have been your host, Webster Style. Thank you again for joining us. Again, you can find us on Instagram at Sartorial and Geek and at Webster Style. Find us on Twitter at Webster Style. Find us on the interwebs or interwebs, what have you, at websterstyle.com or sartorialandgeek.com. And as I said before, feel free to drop us an email with any of your comments, criticism, show ideas. What's your favorite anime, movie, and or series to info at websterstylemagazine.com. Again, thank you for joining us. Don't forget, stay safe out there and be blessed.
Is that bow tie paisley? You kill it. Ooh, I mean, this is me right here. Baby.